Good evening. You are watching DBS TV and this is the news. In Cameroon, words are still unable to vividly paint the incident that claimed the lives of 7 innocent children at Mother Francisca International Bilingual Academy in Kumba, Saturday, October 24, 2020. An act which goes beyond human imagination to have armed men kill children for whatever motive. Cameroonians from every corner, regardless of political, cultural or religious affiliations, have been pouring in indignation to such inhuman acts. Government spokesperson René Emmanuel Sadi presented government's position a few hours after the incident, condemning the act with the last energy. From Kumba, the populations led by the new city mayor Gregory Mewanu came out to say that this is one too many cases of killing for a crisis that has got no purpose any longer. In Douala, littoral region, Cameroonians did not fail to express their sadness concerning the incident. If one thing is to be deduced from the reactions across the board, it is that this act of terrorism went way too far into the heart of Cameroonians. Following the deadly school attack that occurred in Kumba, southwest region of Cameroon, the local and international community, like media organs, the government and NGOs, just to list a few, have been responding, all condemning the barbaric act and calling for justice. Since this weekend, various local television channels and radio stations have been paying tribute to victims of the assassination with related special programs and sports. Newspapers across the country have also marked the day with unusual black-colored paper front pages accompanied by headlines mainly on the tragic event. Though the act has not been independently claimed by separatist fighters, officials in the town of Kumba have blamed Anglophone secessionists for the attack. Newly elected Kumba City Mayor Gregory Mewanu personally visited the scene soon after the attack, where he grieved and called on the people to come out and defend their children. President Paul Biya, in reaction to the school massacre, sent an interministerial delegation of 4 ministers to provide government assistance to families of victims and survivors. Again, several NGOs like Doctors Without Borders responded by launching a mass casualty plan, deploying their ambulance service and surgical care in the Presbyterian General Hospital, Kumba, where victims were rushed to. The European Union's delegation in Cameroon declared this attack constitutes a violation of international law on civilian population, adding that those responsible will have to answer for their actions. The United Nations Embassy in Yaoundé also published a press release condemning the incident, calling for the perpetrators of this attack to be held responsible and brought to justice. In the economic capital of Cameroon, the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, in his vision to pay unexpected visits to health centers, had a working session over the weekend, beginning in the Douala Authority port. Given that the government of Cameroon has successfully contained the coronavirus pandemic, he was out to make sure all dispositions, as far as security is concerned, are in place.
We have to be careful and see what we can do, and we can, I think, do best to secure our compatriots.
Together with his delegation, Minister Manauda Malachi proceeded to the health districts of Soubhoum, Japoma and Lokbaba respectively. At Soubhoum, work has been reorganized by the head of the district with a team available to work over the weekends. Security has been reinforced, rooms have been equipped, yet the minister noted that there is still a lot to be done, especially at the level of COVID-19 prevention measures. Medical personnel in the district of Japoma were surprised by the minister's visit, who met no doctor present out of 6 on seat. One could see abandoned rooms with cables and iron lines on the floor. The minister, however, expressed some optimism after his tour at the Logbaba Health Center with the level of sanitation and organization of work. Overall, he mentioned there is a lack of coordination actions.
I gave a very clear instruction to my collaborators, so we can handle the matter of these health facilities. In Logbaba here, we have a director who has a very clear idea of what he wants to do in these health facilities, and we are going to push him so that we have a very good health facilities here in Logbaba.
The surprise visit serves as a wake-up call for all other health centers to brace up in their activities and work in conformity with the norms and ethics of the profession in order not to be taken unaware in unwanted conditions. Creating awareness on prevention, early detection and treatment is the theme for Operation 1000 Women Against Breast and Cervical Cancer, organized on Saturday, October 24, by the Humanity at Heart International Association. The ceremony, which began with a Zumba workout at the Nsol Community Hall in Bonaberry, saw the presence of over 50 women who took part in the exercise. The president of the Humanity at Heart International Association outlines the objectives for Operation 1000 Women United Against Cancer and the next project on the list.
Reaching 1,000 women after every quarter of the year to make sure that every woman is aware that breast and cervical cancer is actually killing. So if everybody is aware, it creates impact because we believe in the power of voice. If I raise my voice, another person raises the voice, it means that the whole world will surely know that cancer exists and it kills, and we'll do something to prevent it.
Screened, diagnosed and treated from breast cancer, a survivor advised women and young girls to frequently go in for screening.
After every quarter of the year, to make sure that every woman is aware that breast and cervical cancer is actually killing. So if everybody is aware, it creates impact because we believe in the power of voice. If I voice, another person raises the voice, it means that.
While calling on those who receive the bad news, Asa Margaret, a cervical cancer survivor, encourages those on sick beds to keep the faith.
When they talk, say, you get this sick, this cancer, me no panic. Me no panic. Trust for God, and God will answer you.
Moving to Africa, President Alpha Condé was declared winner of the October 18 presidential elections with 59.49% of the vote, defeating his main challenger, Cellou Diallo. Some civilians took to the streets of the capital Conakry to protest immediately after the announcement, fueling tensions in the country. Political tensions in the country turned violent in recent days after Diallo claimed victory ahead of the official result. Celebrations by his supporters were suppressed when security forces fired tear gas to disperse them. They accused the electoral authorities of rigging the vote for incumbent President Alpha Condé. Opposition candidate Cellou Diallo received 33.50% of the vote, the Electoral Commission said. Voter turnout was almost 80%. The International Criminal Court, as well as Amnesty International, has condemned the killings and live rounds firing against protesters during the post-election unrest that has killed at least 10 people. In Seychelles' president election, Anglican priest Wavel Ramkalawan defeated President Dani Faure by 54.9% to 43.5%, official results said. Ramkalawan, the leader of the Seychelles Democratic Alliance, had sought the presidency 6 times before emerging victorious. His win ends the dominance of the United Seychelles Party, which has governed since 1977. This is the first time the opposition wins in a presidential poll after 40 years since Seychelles gained independence from Britain. Supporters of Mr. Ramkalawan since then have been celebrating his victory in the capital, Victoria, as he campaigns on the pledge to raise the Indian Ocean country's minimum wage. The main concern of citizens is centered on the economic situation of the country, which has suffered the loss of vital tourism, its main earner, because of the coronavirus pandemic. The country has as well suffered from corruption, a largely taboo topic where businesses and politics are often mixed up. In Egypt, parliamentary elections began on Saturday and will extend across several weeks. A first round of voting ended on Sunday, with a second round expected on November 7 and 8. Runoffs will take place in late November and early December. According to political observers, the vote may likely produce a fruitless House of Representatives packed with supporters of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi that further approve his policies, leaving the former military general with almost unchecked powers. The polls are being held under a new electoral law under which 50% of 568 contested seats will be allocated to pre-selected lists, a system critics say benefits Sisi supporters. The remaining contested seats will be allocated to individual candidates, and Sisi can appoint up to 28 legislators directly. Face masks are mandatory at polling centers, which were disinfected before and during the vote, authorities said. Authorities have urged Egyptians to take part in the vote in order to show a high turnout and lend legitimacy to the nation. Over to France, the country has decided to recall a convoy to Turkey for consultations following unacceptable comments by the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who suggested Emmanuel Macron, his French counterpart, needed mental health treatment. France and its NATO ally are at loggerheads over a range of issues, including maritime rights in the Eastern Mediterranean, Libya, Syria, and the escalating conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. President Macron has vowed to crack down on racial Islamism in France after the country was shaken by beheading of Samuel Paty on October 16. A spokesperson at the Élysée Palace, home of the French presidency, said excess and rudeness are not a method. We demand that Erdogan change the course of his policy because it is dangerous in every way. We do not enter into unnecessary polemics and do not accept insults. The spokesperson added that France was recalling its ambassador to Ankara for an evaluation of the ongoing situation, which they described as a rare move. Amid a year of contagion and turmoil, Chileans have voted overwhelmingly in support of rewriting their constitution, which dates to the dictatorship of General Augusto Pinochet. With nearly 90% of the votes counted, 78% of people had voted yes in a referendum that was called after mass protests against inequality. A mass anti-government protest movement began in Chile a year ago. From the beginning, one of the demonstrators' key demands was that the country needed a new constitution to be able to fix deep inequalities in society. The referendum, 2 questions were asked to Chileans. Firstly, if they wanted a new constitution, and secondly, what kind of body they would want to draw it up. A large majority have voted for the new constitution to be drafted by a convention made up entirely of elected citizens, as opposed to one that would also include lawmakers. Center-right President Sébastien Pinochet acknowledged the results and praised the peaceful vote, but cautioned it is only the start of a long process. In Belarus, police have arrested at least 10 protesters after thousands of people marched through Minsk and other cities on Sunday, October 25. 12 metro stations were closed, while well-armed riot police patrolled the streets and mobile internet services were disrupted. The protest is meant to keep pressure on Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, one day before the opposition threatens to launch a national strike if he refuses to resign. It follows the August 9 election after his opponent says was rigged. Opposition leaders Svetlana Tikhanovskaya had issued an ultimatum on the 13th of October, threatening a mass walkout by workers if Mr. Lukashenko failed to step down by Monday. The United States, the European Union, Britain and Canada have imposed sanctions against a string of senior officials in Belarus accused of fraud and inhuman rights abuses in the wake of presidential election. However, 26-year ruler Lukashenko has accused Western countries of meddling in the internal affairs of Belarus and trying to instigate a violent uprising against him. That's the end of the news on DBS TV. Keep watching and have a great week.